Have you ever heard someone say, "She said she would call me," or "I was going to tell you, but I forgot"? This is called the future from the past. It's how we talk about something that happened in the future at a certain point in the past. You'll hear it all the time in reported speech, in stories, and even in formal or academic contexts. Today, I'll guide you through it step by step with examples in each of the future forms. Let's get started. Now, when we talk about the future from the past, we do something called backshifting. To backshift is to move the verb one step back into the past. It is a key feature of reported speech, and I've put together a free backshifting cheat sheet for you. It doesn't just cover the future forms, but actually it covers all the tenses. You can find the link in the description down below. As mentioned in the introduction, in this video we're going to look at all of the future forms, and we're going to start with will, also known as the future simple, which we use to talk about spontaneous decisions, promises, predictions. When we backshift will, we get would. Will and would are both followed by the bare infinitive because they're modal verbs, and all modal verbs are followed by the bare infinitive. So let's just go back into the past to a conversation that happened last week. "I'll see you at the party." So this conversation is happening in the past, but speaking about a point in the future. "I'll see you at the party later." Now, fast forward back to the present. "He said he would see me at the party, but then he didn't show up." So he said in the past that he would see me later at the party, but he didn't show up. So will has backshifted to would, and here, this is how we talk about the future seen from the past. Now let's look at what happens with be going to. So we use be going to, followed by the infinitive, to talk about future plans. And when we backshift, we need to backshift the verb to be. We get was or were going to plus the infinitive. So let's go back in time. This is a conversation I had a couple of weeks ago. "We're going to move to Ireland next summer." So this is someone I know telling me that he and his wife are going to move to Ireland next summer. So they're speaking about a future point. Now, fast forward back to the present. "He told me they were going to move to Ireland next summer. So this will be their last Christmas in England." So he told me in the past that they were going to move in the future. And for that reason, this coming Christmas will be their last one in England. We've backshifted, and are going to becomes were going to. Now let's see what happens with the present continuous tense. It is extremely common to use the present continuous to talk about the future, and we use it to talk about future arrangements. An arrangement is like a plan, but it's more certain. It often involves another person, or some kind of action has been taken to make sure that the plan is going to happen. So you've spoken on the phone, or you've made an appointment, or maybe you've bought a ticket. So it's the future that's very certain. And when we backshift the present continuous, we get the past continuous. So let's rewind back into the past. "We're having friends round for dinner." So a conversation with a friend a week ago, and she told me we're having friends round for dinner. So now let's fast forward back to the present. They said they were having friends round for dinner, but I couldn't join them because I already had plans. So they said in the past that they were having friends round for dinner in the future. And this was an arrangement. They've spoken with their friends. They've agreed the date and the time. So that's why the continuous tense is used here. Now we're going to look at the present simple tense, which we use to talk about scheduled events in the future. Things like buses and trains arriving and departing, classes starting. The class starts at 6. The train arrives at 8. And when we backshift the present simple, we get the past simple. So let's rewind into the past, into this morning, early this morning. The tour finishes at midday. Okay, so somebody's speaking, imagine at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they're about to go on a tour. And the tour finishes at midday, which is a few hours in the future. Now, fast forward to the present, to the afternoon. Where's Jenny? She said the tour finished at midday, so she should be home by now. So she said early this morning that the tour finished later at midday. It's now the afternoon, so she should be home, but she's not. And the present simple, finishes, has backshifted to the past simple, finished. Now we're going to look at the future continuous tense, which is formed with will be and the continuous form, the ing form of the verb. And we use the future continuous to talk about an action that will be in progress at a specified future time, like at 7 o'clock this evening, I will be cooking dinner, or for an action that will be happening over a specified period of time in the future. Now, if you'd like more information about this tense and indeed all of the future forms, then I've put together a free English tenses cheat sheet, which you can download from the link in the description. And if you'd like a more detailed look at all of the tenses with lots of examples, I've also written a little book, a concise guide to the English verb tenses, which you can get in PDF and paperback form. I'll pop the links down below in the description. So when we backshift the future continuous, we get would be plus ing. So all we're doing is changing will to would. Let's go back in time. I will be working from home next week. So here, imagine last week I'm talking and I say, I will next week in the future be working from home. Now, let's fast forward to next week, which is now this week. She said she'd be working from home this week, so she should be in if you want to pop round. So she said in the past that she would in the future be working from home, which time has moved on. So what was then the future is now the present. And will be working becomes would be working. And I just want to point out here, she should be in. What does this mean, to be in? It means to be at home. So if you say, is there anyone in? You mean, is there anyone at home? There's no one in. There's no one home. I'll be in later. I'll be at home later. And pop round, the phrasal verb. If you pop round, then you visit someone for a short period of time at their home. So maybe you pop round, you visit them for a coffee or something like that, or a chat. Now let's look at the future perfect, which is will have, and the past participle, or V3, verb 3. We use the future perfect when we want to say that an action will be complete no later than a specified time in the future. And when we backshift this, we get would have plus the past participle. So all we do is change will to would. So let's go back in time. We will have finished by lunchtime. So imagine this is your boss saying this. We will have finished the work by lunchtime. So he's talking in the morning and he's speaking about lunchtime, which is in the future. So now let's fast forward to the afternoon. He told me they would have finished by lunchtime, but I doubt they did. They had so much to do. So he told me in the past that he would have finished in the future by lunchtime. But, I don't think they did. They had a lot on their plate. Now we're going to look at the future perfect continuous, which is will have been with ing. And we use this future form to talk about an action that will have been in progress for a specified amount of time in the future. So we use it to say how long something will have been happening for. And how do you think we backshift this? Yep, would have been plus ing. So all we do is change will to would. Let's go into the past and let's go back to June. I will have been living here for 2 months in July. So it's June now. The person speaking has been living here for 1 month at this point, and in July, at this future point, it will have been 2 months. Fast forward to the present. How long has Sarah been living there? She said she would have been living there for 2 months in July. It's September, so it must be 4 months now. So she said in the past that she would in the future have been living there for 2 months in July. It's now September, so it must be 4 months. And we've backshifted will have been living becomes would have been living. I just want to show you a structure that we can use in formal contexts. Think news reports, official announcements, or instructions. B2 plus the infinitive. And when we backshift this, we need to backshift the verb to be into the past, and we get was or were, to plus the infinitive. So let's rewind back into the past to yesterday. The Prime Minister is to step down at the end of the month. So imagine this in a news report, and they're talking about the Prime Minister is to, in the future, at the end of the month, step down. If you step down, then you leave, you resign from an important job, an important position. So if I quit my job, I wouldn't be stepping down because I'm not a VIP, I'm not an important person in the world. Which is probably just as well. I wouldn't want to have all that responsibility. Now, let's fast forward to now. I heard on the news that the Prime Minister was to step down at the end of the month. So I heard yesterday when I was watching the news that the Prime Minister was to step down in the future at the end of the month. So is to step down has backshifted and become was to step down. Now, I just want to point something out, and that is that we don't always know if the action happened. So we can use the future from the past to talk about something that did happen, something that didn't, or something, well, we don't actually know. So let's see a few examples. And let's see one in the present continuous, one of the most common future forms. We backshift to what? The past continuous. So let's go back in time. Let's go back a couple of weeks, 2 weeks. I'm starting a new job next week. So this person is telling us that they are in the future starting a new job. And the present continuous is used because this is an arrangement. It's very certain. You know, the job has been confirmed, a contract has been signed, and a start date has been agreed. So it's a future arrangement. Now, fast forward to the present. She was starting a new job last week, so she'll be very busy. So yeah, she told me in the past that she was starting a new job, and a couple of weeks have gone since that point, so what was next week is actually last week now. So for that reason, she'll be very busy. Now, did this happen? Did she start the new job? She started the job. And how do we know? Because I'm saying she'll be very busy now. So it's clear from the context, she'll be very busy because she started the new job. Let's look at another one using will, the future simple. And we backshift to would. So let's go into the past. I'll help you finish the project. So imagine this person in the morning, they're saying, I'll help you finish the project. And then fast forward to later that day, he said he'd help, but then he had to leave early. So he said in the past that he would in the future help, but then he had to leave early. So did this happen? Did he help? No, he didn't help. And how do we know this? Because we say, well, but then he had to leave. So here we're using the future from the past for something that didn't actually happen. One more with the present continuous again. So we backshift to the past continuous. The new sofa is being delivered this week. So imagine that somebody is saying this on Monday at the beginning of the week. And then let's fast forward to Thursday. She said the sofa was being delivered this week. Do we know if the sofa has been delivered? We don't know. This week hasn't finished yet. It's still this week. So who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no. But we haven't spoken to her and she hasn't told us. So, and we've backshifted. Is being has become was being. Just a little point about this example. Because this week hasn't finished, it's still this week. We don't actually have to backshift. We could just say, she said the sofa is being delivered this week. And that would also be correct. So it's only strictly necessary to backshift if the time has changed. But to me, it's more natural to do it. So even if the time is the same, I still tend to backshift. I think it's, just comes more naturally to me to do so. And also, if in doubt, backshift. These three examples illustrate that we can use the future from the past to talk about things that didn't happen, things that did happen, and things that we don't know if they happened or not. And now I'm going to show you a form that we use specifically to talk about arrangements that were expected to happen but didn't. So this only applies to arrangements. If you remember, something that is very sure, that has been agreed. And we use was or were supposed to, plus the infinitive. So let's go back in time. I'll help you. So back to this example of I'll help you. And then fast forward to the present. He said he'd help me, but then he had to leave early. So here we're just backshifting in the normal way. Will help becomes would help. but it's also very, very common, very natural to say, he was supposed to help me, but he had to leave early. He was supposed to. We had an arrangement. We had an agreement. We talked about it. It wasn't a plan that just existed in my head. You know, it's a plan between two people, an arrangement. Let's see one more example. Going back into the past. I'll meet you at the restaurant. So we're having a conversation. Imagine you're going on a date and your date says that they will, in the future, meet you at the restaurant. We can backshift in the normal way. So let's go into the future. He said he'd meet me at the restaurant, but he stood me up. So will meet becomes would meet. But it's also very natural to say, he was supposed to meet me at the restaurant, but he stood me up. He was supposed to. We had an agreement. We had chosen the location and the time. And just to point out the phrasal verb here, if you stand someone up, particularly in a romantic context, you arrange to meet them somewhere and then you purposely, deliberately don't turn up. You just, leave them waiting for you alone. So, not very nice. And, another thing to point out is that supposed to is not generally used in formal contexts. So, if we're in a formal context, talking about something that is expected to happen, but doesn't happen, we can use was or were to have plus the past participle. So let's rewind into the past. The expedition is to reach the summit by spring. So the expedition is expected to reach the summit by spring. The summit is the highest point, the top of a mountain. So let's start by backshifting in the normal way. So we fast forward to the present. The expedition was to reach the summit by spring. So here is to has backshifted to was to. In this case, we don't know if they reached it or not, because was to or were to can be used for things that happened and things that didn't happen. If we want to make it clear that it didn't happen, we can say, the expedition was to have reached the summit by spring. And in this case, we know that it didn't. Maybe they had extreme weather and the climbers were forced to turn back. So when we use was or were to have done something, it wasn't done. One more example, going back into the past. The merger is to create the largest corporation in the industry. A merger is when two businesses join together to become one. So the merger is in the future to create the largest corporation in the industry. It's basically saying that the merger is expected to create the largest corporation in the industry. And if we backshift in the normal way, the merger was to create the largest corporation in the industry. And so here, when is to create becomes was to create, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. We need more information. But if we want to be clear that it didn't happen, we can say, the merger was to have created the largest corporation in the industry. And here we know, because of was to have created, that it didn't happen. Maybe they experienced some legal drama and there were delays and it just didn't happen. Will it still happen in the future? Maybe, but it hasn't yet. Well done, guys. Now, don't forget that you've got 2 free cheat sheets to download, one on backshifting and one that explains all of the English tenses. And for a more detailed guide on the verb tenses with lots of examples, then check out my book, A Concise Guide to the English Verb Tenses. You'll find the links in the description for the PDF and the paperback version. Now, if you liked the video, if you learnt something, then please do give it a like, and why not subscribe for more? And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And why not leave me a comment? Let me know what you thought, or leave an example sentence using the future from the past. And I just want to say a massive thank you to my channel members for supporting the channel. See you in the next video.